Hello, I'm Don Smith, and today we're talking with Sandy Buzzerd, the 2019 Adam R. Kelly Award winner. Hello, Sandy.
Good morning.
Sandy, we thank you for being with us. Appreciate your time. It's such a busy time in our industry, but we are thrilled to have you and thrilled that you are our 2019 Adam R. Kelly Award winner. It's certainly an award you've earned and deserved, and we appreciate your time talking with us today. Sandy, we're going to recording this and putting it on our website and in our convention packet. And as you and I were talking a little before this started, it is a shame. I think it's a shame, but we are lucky that we have this technology now and we can do this, and that people 20 years from now can look back and hear what you have to say. And as we were talking, it would be great if we had the interviews from some of the people that we started with when we were just getting into the industry. Sandy, you're at the Morgan Messenger. You've been there your whole career, correct?
Well, I had a career before I joined the Morgan Messenger, but I have been here 37 years. And I have to say that last year I was quite honored when the announcement was made that I was the award recipient. And I really hated the fact that I couldn't be there, but there were issues that kept me from being at the convention, which is why this, of course, is a year behind. And but it was quite an honor, and I do thank all those that put me in this position.
Well, we all supported you for the award, but I think we'd all agree that you put yourself in the position to win it. Sandy, I noted in the bio that this is your second time as president. You're now serving as president of the association for the second time. You've been on the board for several years and are really a force in the association and with the industry.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. I think there's probably maybe one person that's been on the board longer than I have, and that would be Frank.
Mhm.
And we always kept going back to him anytime we needed an extra board member, and he always graciously helped us out.
We're
But
talking
yes,
about Frank Wood. We are
yeah,
talking about Frank Wood, who was with
yes,
Register Herald and Beckley. Yes.
yes.
Now, of course,
And I have I have had every position that there is to be, from treasurer to secretary to VP to president of the Press Association, and I'm always there to help. I totally support all newspapers in the state of West Virginia.
well, Sandy, I know that we served together both as board members, and then you've been very supportive of our activity since I've been executive director. You have always been a strong voice for the weekly newspapers in West Virginia, and you represent two, I guess I would say, what are considered maybe minority positions: the independent, family-owned weekly, and then women in management in our industry. There aren't as many female publishers as we should have, and there are fewer and fewer independent weeklies each year.
Well, yeah, that's true. And the fact that the Morgan Messenger has been around since 1893, my husband's grandfather, great-grandfather actually, S.S. Buzzerd, founded it. And it's been a very strong paper ever since. And the fact that a woman is now running it is very important in our industry. And it's very important that I have a large staff. I'd say our staff, probably 90% is women.
Great.
So we have a wonderful editor, Kate Shunny,
Mhm.
and we speak for all women.
Well, very good. And it's certainly changing in our industry. But I know that when I started, and probably when you started, that wasn't as common as it is now. It was a more male-dominated board, a more male-dominated industry. So it's great that you're there and setting an example for so many young people. I know that we were involved with WVU, and so many of the journalism students are female, and that's great. We need strong leaders and different opinions on the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of women in advertising. There's a lot of women in reporting, but it's the upper management that is still weak.
Hmm. Sandy, you mentioned your family or the Buzzard family has had the paper for more than 100 years. And you are also a tremendous spokesperson for newspaper involvement in the local community. Your family and that paper is such a presence in Berkeley Springs and in Morgan County. And that doesn't happen by accident, does it?
Oh, no, not at all. Like everything, times have changed because more and more people are moving into Berkeley Springs and Morgan County. There was back in the day when I got started, it makes me feel so old when I get to say back in the day. But, you knew most of the names and everybody, knew the Buzzard name and related it to the weekly newspaper, which was a very proud thing. And that is still today, but there are so many different people in Morgan County now that things have changed a lot.
I know that it's actually been 2 summers now that I brought Marianne Reed, who at that time was dean of the Reed College of Media at WVU and is now provost for the university, over to Berkeley Springs to meet with you. And the Chamber of Commerce couldn't have done a better job taking us around town, introducing us to people, showing us what's important about Berkeley Springs and talking about Morgan County. And I think both of us leaving talked in the car about, wow, what a great community, what a great spokesman. And we were thinking about, how do we get back there? I mean, it was you had almost sold us on the community and the newspaper. We wanted to get more involved, and I think says a lot about a family-owned paper.
Well, it's such a great town and county that it's easy to talk good about it and to know what's here and our resources that are here, because really our resources are our land, our small businesses. We do not have any large businesses to fall back on. There's a couple big companies that they're nice, but again, you need the bed and breakfasts, the small motel, all the little restaurants that are around town, which is what makes it Berkeley Springs.
And I think that's reflected in your coverage too, isn't it, Sandy? I mean, the things that you focus on are so local and so important to the local resident, but might not pop up on a CNN news feed or even across the state.
Absolutely not. That's one of the things that we want to stay away from. I mean, daily papers have their important issues to discuss, but we're a weekly paper and we support the community, schools, county government. I mean, that's really what we need to focus on. We need to give people news that they're not getting on TV and they're not getting in their daily paper. The birth announcements, the fact that your sister got married,
Right.
Those are the important things for Morgan County residents, and that's what we want to tell them about.
Okay. Now you've had some amazing papers. Each week is a great paper, but some have been so impressive. I remember when the courthouse burnt, the fire at the courthouse. I remember the reopening of the new courthouse and some other things. Over your career, Sandy, what have been some of the top things that you have been able to feature or cover in this position as editor?
Well, you just touched on them. The fact that when the courthouse burnt down, I mean, what a tragedy that was. Floods. We've had several floods throughout this county that have changed lives. So, those are the major things that have happened. And it's important that along the history that we record all those things in the paper so that it's a matter of record. People can refer back to our paper and find out when something happened or what happened. one of the complaints I've gotten before is, why do you put the bad news on the front page? We don't want our visitors seeing the bad news. I'm sorry, bad news is important for everybody to know about. I mean, we didn't cause the bad news. We didn't, right now we have a very, very sad murder case that's going on, and we have to report about that. It's going to make the front page, and it'll probably make the front page until that case is over. But we try and put the good news on the front page as well.
Well, Sandy, that your community is such a neat little tourist community. It has a very unique personality, and you guys do a good job and have always done a good job of featuring that too and championing what's going on in Berkeley Springs. I don't know how those businesses would get the word out they do without you guys being there. I mean, you're the source of reaching, you're the way people reach the public in that county.
Well, and it's the accurate news also that we put out. I mean, there are people that say, why didn't you put this story on? I saw it on Facebook. Well, Facebook, as everyone knows, doesn't make it true. If we find out something on Facebook, we're going to research it. We're just not going to put it in the paper just because we heard. We will find out the truth before we put it in print. And that is so important today. So important.
And you're also the source for their legal advertising and all the activity that government's planning that impacts so many people. They know where to look. They know that's going to be in your paper.
And one of the things that we also feel that's important to us is we cover the county government. Mm-hmm. And, we don't attend every meeting now because of, COVID, but we're watching them online. And it's important for us to get that information out to the public so they know what their commissioners are working on. Good, bad, indifferent. We let people know what is going on.
Right. Sandy, I want to talk a little bit about, and I have to imagine there have been some challenges and I think it's important for other women, and especially young women looking at our industry to hear this. I'm sure there have been some challenges and difficulties, or maybe not. You in your role being a woman as a reporter, as an editor, and talking to people, has that been something that has changed, or was it ever a problem?
Well, I would say over the years, I thought it was really getting better. Along with any job, the first thing that women have to do is prove themselves. I don't care if you're a reporter, I don't care if you're a doctor, we have to prove ourselves. That's just the way it is. And I thought things were getting better until this week. I was just sort of blown away that we were left out of an event in town. Shelley Moore Capito stopped by. She met with the all-male county commissioners, but yet the newspaper wasn't invited. Our female editor did not get invited. And that's just a step backwards as far as I'm concerned. I think that we women should be supporting each other. I mean, I have certainly supported her over the years. And just to leave out, our female editor was wrong. So, yes, I guess it still is a challenge.
Mm-hmm. I can certainly understand it. Hopefully that was just a issue with COVID and we're not going in the wrong direction. But it's certainly, on that incident, it looks that way. It's a problem. With the board, with the Press Association, and being around the state and being at the Capitol, and you've been good to attend our Capitol events. Have you seen a change there in terms of your role and your acceptance?
Yes. And, one of the things that when I first got started on the board, I remember being at the board meetings by myself as far as female was concerned. but I was very accepted, and that was important. It was more, the only separation in the board is the weekly and the daily papers. And which is why I think it's important for us to get together and talk about things so that, you know, everybody sees all the issues, whether it be daily or weekly. And they all seem to, we do have a common interest. And I never felt rejected at all as far as being on the board as a woman. There are, right now we have a few, so I'm happy to say that I have company on that board. But
Right.
again, I've never felt separation as far as, you know, being on the board.
Great. You've also handled one of the other problems that women face when they're in any career. You've raised a family during your career, and you and your husband Jim have two daughters, and you've stayed out there. But what is it like trying to be the editor of a newspaper, an active board member, and a mother at the same time? That's another challenge.
Well, being the mother of two daughters is what is wonderful. I mean, they are both very strong women. But it was also easy being in a small town. I lived 2 blocks away from the Morgan Messenger office. So the idea that I could run home anytime I wanted to, or let's face it, their summers, they were hanging out at the newspaper office.
Right.
So
And I know in
yeah,
your
there were no more challenges being, you know, working for the newspaper than it would have been any other job, except for, you know, it did offer me freedoms because I was so close.
but also I know as a weekly editor, I've been in that role. You have some weekends where you're at events and you can't go out to eat dinner without someone stopping and talking to you and saying, "Hey, what about this?" So your family is always part of the operation. They have to accept that whether they like it or not.
Right. And the other thing is, you're always finding out stuff when you're working for the newspaper because everybody wants to tell you something. So therefore, I knew probably what happened at school before they even came home. So I always said, if you did something wrong, you better tell me because I probably already know.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure. And that brings up, and I'll let you close, but I want my final point is, I know from your bio, you were involved in the boosters, you were involved at school, you were involved in festivals, you're in the Hall of Fame for one of the festivals for your efforts. That is a personal decision, but that's also reflective of, at least I think, a good community newspaper. Is that, I don't think that was accidental. That was intentional too, that you stayed involved with your kids and the schools and all those things during this time.
Oh, yes. I mean, a good community is one that does have people that volunteer. And Berkeley Springs is very good. There's a lot of organizations and a lot of my friends and family and, you know, donate their time, which makes a good community.
Right. Sandy, I'll let you close with this. You've got 30 plus years doing this. You've been active at the community level, but you're also active at the Capitol. You've helped us lobby and you meet with governors and legislators over the years. Where do you see our industry going? What is your prediction or your thought about the next 30 years in our industry?
Well, 37 years
37.
in the newspaper business, and I have been in all different angles of the business as I've worked my way around learning the newspaper business. So much has changed, and it's not just changed for me. It's definitely changed for the industry. Whether it's the technology is totally different. I mean, you know, we all have websites. Who would have thought 37 years ago I wouldn't just be getting black stuff all over my fingers from the newsprint, that, I would be keen in information for people to get it instantly. Um, I think that newspapers are still strong. I think they play a very important role in every community that's out there, whether they're weekly or daily. I think that as long as we report the news accurately, um, we will still stand for good things in the future because people do respect the newspapers. Yes, times are changing. We may not be selling as many copies as we used to, but our presence online and with our legals online, we can reach more people than ever. For instance, me being a weekly paper, I can put stuff out daily online. So
Absolutely.
my role, our role as a weekly newspaper has changed.
All right. Well, Sandy, again, congratulations on being our 2019 Adam R. Kelly Award. That is our most prestigious honor, and you've certainly earned it. Thank you for this time, and I'm glad that people every year from now will have this. They can come back and look at this and hear your thoughts and understand the value of a good community newspaper.
Well, thank you for the award. I do very much appreciate it. I was overwhelmed when the announcement came last year. I thank you. And before I go, I want to congratulate all the winners this year, whether they won one award or a dozen awards. Be proud of yourselves. It's a great job.
It is. They did great work. Again, thank you, Sandy, and have a good day.
You too.